Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today. Welcome to filmandtvreview.com. Catch the latest film, TV and streamed show reviews every week. The views and opinions expressed by the authors and those providing comments are theirs alone. They do not reflect the views, opinions or position of filmandtvreview.com or their respective parent companies or affiliates. Filmandtvreview.com makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and is for entertainment purposes only. Episodes may contain adult humor and language. For full terms and conditions, see filmandtvreview.com.
Hello there. Welcome to our guest. It's another film and TV review. It's a film. It's a sports special today. Actually, it's supposed. So this year, there's a lot of going on around the world. It's hosted by Richard Fontana and Mark Tak, who will be talking about the films that they saw this week and maybe some classics. Richard, take it away.
Yeah, for classics, I don't know. It's kind of strange for me about sports actually, but back in the day when I was growing up, actually, I hated actually this genre for some reason. I only watched when I was growing up the Rocky Saga, which is obviously a movie that everyone has watched obviously once in their life, I guess. All the Rocky movies, not all of them are great, by the way, but we can discuss that later. I think the Rocky 5 might be one of the worst things ever made. That being said, in recent years, I kind of rediscovered this genre. I don't know why, actually, I changed my mind. Well, in French, it says actually that only morons do not change their minds. So maybe I'm not a moron. I don't know. But yeah, I mentioned in the comments, actually, talking about Rocky, another movie about boxing that I like a lot is Southpaw, that I mentioned. Amazing movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Rachel McAdams. Very emotional movie actually, which is more about parenting than boxing, I would say. Also very inspiring. Actually, there is I believe actually that it's kind of a trend in the sports movies. But if it works well, it has to be inspiring in a way, because it's always about achieving something almost impossible. In my opinion, that's how actually I see sports movies. And in Southpaw, that's true. Is someone actually who is at the top of his career and everything goes wrong. I will not go into spoilers. And he has to, stand up again and to rise to the occasion and to fix everything in his life, from family issues to his obviously professional career. And Jake Gyllenhaal is giving another great performance as usual, I want to say. And you have also Forest Whitaker, who plays the great coach in that movie, basically. So yeah, good movie. And the two documentaries that I always talk about. I'm sorry if I'm an old guy who always talk about the same things every time. That documentary, Senna, that is a masterpiece in my opinion. Only the music actually will make you cry. Not because obviously it's a terrible that this guy had, but it's also actually how, again, he inspired not only people who actually like Formula One, but I think just people in Brazil. I inspire them because obviously in Brazil, there is actually a quote from someone who was interviewed when he died, Senna, and she said actually that Brazil doesn't have much, but they had Ayrton Senna, and now it was taken from them. It was very, very sad moment actually, but it's all about this actually, how actually this guy actually was kind of a model figure for, in my opinion, he still is, for any athletes in any sports. And when you see interviews online of Formula One drivers nowadays, from Lewis Hamilton to, I don't know, Sebastian Vettel, etc., they always see actually Senna as actually the model figure, even if they actually maybe won more Grand Prix or they have more championship in their belts. But yeah, he is truly amazing guy. He did amazing things outside of Formula One. He went over his limits as a Formula One driver, and yeah, he's an example. And the other documentary, and then I will pass the mic maybe to Mike, to Mark. I don't know what to call you, Mike. Mark, is Free Solo. So Free Solo is very strange movie, documentary. Sorry. So this guy, now I missed his name, so I'm tired. This crazy climber, Alex Honnold. Now I think about it, I think it's Alex Honnold or something like that. It's Honnold, but I think his first name is Alex. So free soloing is a crazy way of climbing mountains because you climb without gear, literally. So it's kind of, you have a death wish, literally. And some people die actually. They actually, if you look online, actually, there are some people actually, you see, people do die. And in that case, so this guy is maybe the craziest or best, depends on how you see it. Let's say craziest mountain climber of all time. And he decided, he had that goal to actually to climb a mountain or a hill, I don't know how to call it, called El Capitan in, I think it's in Yosemite Park, I believe so, which is supposed to be an impossible climb, even with gear, to be honest, almost impossible, because of how it's, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but apparently it's impossible. And the documentary is, so it's a team of reporters actually following him during his preparation, but they have no idea, obviously, at that point, if he's going to do it or if he's going to die doing it or if he's going to achieve his dream, whatever. And there is this debate of should they actually even film this guy doing it, because they're going to maybe actually on live stream, they actually maybe actually going to actually have someone killing himself. And there is this debate between the group of I don't know, entrepreneurs, but documentarians, let's call them. And there's even one of them who doesn't want, like, when the climb starts, one of the cameramen doesn't want even to watch. He is actually feeling very comfortable. And I understand why, to be honest, because there are some shots, if you just Google the movie and you put Google images, you will see what I mean, because there are some shots that are fucking crazy. I mean, we're talking about, I think, is going up, the altitude is something like 3 times the size of the Eiffel Tower without any gear. It's, yeah, anyway. And then, yeah, well, obviously he survived, by the way, that's no spoiler alert. But you can check online and see his interview, etc. And he explained that it's kind of, it's almost actually like, I don't know, like something is in his genes or whatever, but he doesn't feel the risk of dying like everyone else. And that's why he can do it. And actually, I think there is a name of it. It's not a disease, but it is true actually that some people actually, they don't, I don't know the name of I mean, there is a name of it's actually a kind of anomaly in your genes where actually you are able to do things like completely crazy because, well, in a way you don't see danger. And that's the only way someone could have done that. And this achievement, this climb that he did, is named actually the greatest achievement in sports history by specialists, experts, etc. And I understand why, because it's impossible to do something crazier or better than that, because, yeah, I think you should watch the documentary and you will see what I mean by that. Yeah, definitely the craziest thing I've seen on TV in my life, Thomas. Anyway, so that's me.
That's good stuff.
That was auditions.
You keep mentioning Senna, but did you learn about Senna
Yes.
himself in the documentary? Because is
Yeah.
it a lot of interview with him himself, or is it the people?
Yeah, absolutely.
knew him?
What I'm really thinking about this is that even if you don't care about Formula One, it's not focused on Formula One, to be honest. 90% of it's focused on himself, on him, on who he is as a human being. And it goes through interviews about Ayrton Senna, about how he sees life, the whole carpe diem stuff. Actually, that's how he sees it. That he's a real into religion. He believes in God, etc., and he thinks that God gives him a gift, being great Formula One driver, and he has actually to do his best actually to use that gift at best, and to use that gift to make other people happy with the money that he got, obviously from the Formula One career. And it is a bit of a sad thing, but I always remember there's a quote from one of his interviews, but he says something. It's so sad when you know his fate. When you know his fate, 6 months before he died in Imola, in the interview, he said actually that he's only at half of his life, because like an athlete usually ends his career in his 30s, and he doesn't think actually that Formula One is a big deal. He thinks it's just for him, it's just a hobby. And he says, I'm just a Formula One driver. And something like, there is so much things to see, to do, and to learn in our life. But for me, I still have 40 years ahead of me to enjoy life. It's so sad to know actually that 6 months later with that. And the last part of the movie is all the funeral and all the rivals that he had, including the French guy Alain Prost. For anyone who knows a bit of Formula One, there was a big rivalry in the 90s between him and Alain Prost. And actually, Alain Prost was there at his funeral, and you can see actually that the rivalry, actually, it was friendship, not rivalry. And he was maybe more sad than anyone else to see Senna died. And it's an amazing thing to see, to be honest. And the music, I don't know who did the soundtrack of his documentary, but he deserved an Oscar, to be honest. Anyway.
Thank you, Richard.
See, now Mark, you've seen quite a few of these.
I have, but I have my hand up actually because I wanted to just make a point on what Richard was saying about Senna. Richard, did you know that in the film Senna, you know the segment where Senna's on the boat, on that on the sort of speedboat, and he's talking. His nephew, that little boy next to him, his nephew is on the boat, and that he grows up to be a Formula One driver in real life.
It's true.
Yeah. So not obviously as good as Senna, but he grows up and he became a commentator in Formula One and also going in Formula E as well. So just a little tidbit about Senna. But I've watched a few films, Jason and everyone. 2 films that I watched that were particularly good standout films. I found there was a lot of documentaries, things like that. But one film that I watched that I really, really enjoyed is called Blood and Glory on Amazon Prime. So this film is it's set during the Anglo-Boer War, which occurs at sort of the beginning of the century, 1901, that kind of time. So it's a war between the British and the Boers, who are kind of, based in the region of South Africa, that kind of area. And these are prisoners of war. They're farmers, that kind of thing, taken to camps. And they basically learn... They see rugby, the British officers playing rugby or the British soldiers playing rugby, and they decide to challenge the British soldiers to rugby. They learn rugby. And it's basically the story, I'm presuming it's based on true story. It's the story of the formation of the Springboks. And it was a very good film, very, very enjoyable. So that's my first recommendation on Amazon Prime.
Who's in that? It looks like it's got
to be honest, I couldn't see anyone memorable, Jason, anyone sort of famous or well-known, Jason. So I don't know, it could have been actors from maybe South Africa, that kind of region. But I couldn't see anyone I actually recognized. But it was a very, very good film. I'm sure the main character, who's a farmer who sort of leads all the prisoners in the rugby team, he looked like he must have been in a few other films. There's an Irish chap who's a prisoner as well who teaches them about rugby. But yeah, it seems to be all, you know, unknown actors, say for us in terms of Hollywood things like that. And to be honest, it kind of probably made the film a bit better to watch for it, you know, in that there wasn't any well-known faces. So it made it more of a sort of believable experience. The second film I watched on Netflix, I really enjoyed. I'm going to try and watch it again. In fact, it's called First Match, which is again is a wrestling film. So it's about a young girl who's in the photo behind me here, a troubled young girl. She sort of moves through different foster homes. She can't really sort of, you know, settle down into a happy life. She's kind of picking fights in school, this kind of thing. And then by chance, she kind of, her friend, one of her male friends is on the wrestling team. She goes to sort of see him one day to speak to him, and sees wrestling and gets sort of drawn into the world of, you know, sort of amateur wrestling. And she kind of is quite good at it. Her father was a sort of former, you know, wrestler, not WWE, that kind of thing, but more sort of, you know, high school type wrestling. And he sort of teaches her as well, but then at the same time he's got other kind of plans for her. He's been out of her life and things. He's been in prison. He's got other plans to kind of motivate her in a different direction, and probably hasn't got her best interests at heart. And then it's kind of, the story is her journey and whether she decides to continue with wrestling, you know, with her friend and the school coach as a form of keeping out of trouble, or go with her father's plans. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I mean, I'd recommend that. I thought it was a very good watch, something I'd probably watch again. So those are my two picks. I watched a few others like Creed, which I've seen before, really enjoyed. And a few others. But I shall now pass on to Vance. I think, Vance, if you want to mention any of your sort of film recommendations, any films you enjoyed. And then, Vance, if you want to nominate someone after that, and if anyone wants to talk, obviously, please do raise your hand. So, Vance, yeah, let us know what you think about sports films. Any ones you enjoyed?
Yeah, so recently I saw Ben Affleck's film, what was it? The Way Back. If you guys have heard of it, it came out last year. It was, I think, quite typical. It was of a sports film. You know, this coach who is Ben Affleck, he takes on a team of like good for nothing students and kind of reforms them. But through the process, he also struggles with his own problems with alcoholism. And I mean, it's paralleled. This whole story is paralleled by the basketball games that they're playing. It was nothing special. I just saw it recently, but it was a nice film overall. I don't regret it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a big sports fan himself, Ben Affleck. So
Yeah,
see why he did it.
Is he in it, or is he directing it? So I never heard of this movie.
He's in it. No, he doesn't direct it. I thought.
Okay.
I thought he did. It's directed by Gavin O'Connor, but he's the star.
Gavin O'Connor. Yeah, okay. I think he's the guy who did X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Wow.
Oh, right.
I
Remembered.
leave that off the label at the back.
Yeah.
That is a sick burn. That was a sick burn.
No, but it doesn't mean actually that the movie is bad. I'm just saying that.
Really? No, we'll see. Then you'll make up your mind.
TV is not great, but yeah,
But one I saw in the past, which left quite an impact, was a documentary called Minding the Gap. It's about skateboarding. So the director is basically making this documentary about his personal life as a child growing up in small town US, where him and his friends would skateboard to escape the realities of his life, like family problems, financial problems. And because it's like a personal work, it's quite emotional and quite moving. So I think it's a recommendation for you.
What's it called again?
Sorry.
Minding the Gap. I put it in the chat.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
On which platform? Where did you see it, Vance?
It's a Hulu original, but I think now it's on a lot of platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. So next person, I guess. Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry, there's a little ambient noise around. Anyway, I was hoping to catch more films, but what films I did watch, there was a documentary called Murder Ball, and it's from 2005, and it focuses on wheelchair rugby, and it particularly focuses on the US and the Canadian teams. And there's a lot of particular intense rivalry because the coach of the Canadian team used to play for the US team as a player. Now he's coaching Canada. And so there's a lot of intense, more than usual, rivalry because of that. And so it goes from the 2003, I believe, World Championships in wheelchair rugby to, I guess, the 2004 Paralympics in Athens, Greece. The Paralympics take place just after the Summer Olympics, and that year was Athens, Greece, 2004. So, and wheelchair rugby is also called Murder Ball, hence the name of the movie, but I guess someone jokes that wheelchair rugby just sounds more marketable to sponsors. I mean, I don't know. And anyway, so the movie focuses on the sport and the competitions, but also goes into the backgrounds of the players. In particular, someone named Mark Zupan, and it also goes into some of the backgrounds of people like the coach, because you think the coach is like a really bad guy because he played for the U.S. and I was coaching their rival, but he's just a family guy trying to be a good dad and good husband and all this other stuff. So, and it goes into also the background of another person, a few different people, but one in particular who isn't the player, or at least he wasn't at that time. After the movie was done, he became a rugby player. And I guess this guy's name was Keith. And I guess what they wanted to show was the difference in experiences for people who are quadriplegic, that some people who've been quadriplegic for a while, they got used to it and kind of got a little rhythm. Things don't faze them as much. And then you have this guy, Keith, who had just become quadriplegic, and he's getting used to doing things and all the things he can no longer do, and he's a little down about that. But then things, I don't necessarily want to spoil it, even though it's a documentary, but it just wants to show the different experiences and way beyond the competitiveness, beyond the sports. And this is a really intense sport. You think of wheelchair rugby, all these major sports around the world, it doesn't enter your mind, but these people take it really, really super seriously. I mean, just as like any major sport, like the World Cup or Super Bowl or anything else. The only thing for me, and anytime you watch a documentary from, I guess in this case it's 15 years ago, there's certain things that may be dated. The thing that made it a little bit dated wasn't so much the subject matter, at least not directly, but that guy, Mark Zupan, who's a rugby player, they talk about him going to his high school reunion and stuff that he had done in high school. This is 2005. And since then, his high school has unfortunately become very infamous in the US and possibly around the world because of, tragedy there. I won't say too much more about that. But overall, Murder Ball is sort of just a good look at these players, at their lives involving the sport, at their lives outside the sport, at just what the experience is like being a quadriplegic and the different types of quadriplegic. It's not just sort of like a blanket thing. Like some people actually can do certain things with their hands and others can't do. So it's not just a blanket term. So overall, it was a good film. One of the film I did also want to mention briefly, it's been a while since I've seen it. It's an Iranian film called Offside. and I believe 2006 is when it came out, and it's about these women who are trying to watch a football match between the Iranian national team and Bahrain. It was a World Cup qualifier. And the thing with that is that women, I don't know if this has changed, but women aren't allowed to go see football matches in person. And so they have to kind of disguise themselves as men, more or less, to sneak into the game. And, you know, something that could be just a straight comedy. In some places, this is, there's some humorous moments, but it's more serious. The idea that these women are they just want to root for their home country's team, and they're not able to do that in person.
They use the sports as they use this to express an idea. The sports here, the match, I guess, is expressing an idea that actually women are not allowed to do anything, literally, I guess.
Yeah, and some of the guards at the stadium, they're kind of like, well, we don't care one way or the other about, you know, whether women are allowed to watch football in person or not, but they're just, you know, just doing what they do and just surviving. And one of them actually is a little bit more sympathetic to them and what they're trying to do. You know, he helps them out. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting look at a situation and using sports as a way to look at a larger issue in a particular country. And one other film I did want to mention, which I had seen recently, I'd seen it a couple of times. It's not about sports per se, but about a former athlete and going into a different kind of competition, is Molly's Game. It's about a skier named Molly Bloom, or former skier. She was an Olympic hopeful, but due to a series of injuries, she wasn't able to compete in the Olympics. And so through a series of circumstances, she ran this poker game, sort of like this underground poker game. And I believe in real life, Tobey Maguire was one of the people who participated in those games.
Yes, they had real life people, didn't they?
Yeah, so in the movie, which is a drama, Molly Bloom, a real person, movie's based on her book. Molly Bloom is played by Jessica Chastain. Idris Elba plays her lawyer because she gets into.
And Michael Cera plays Tobey Maguire unofficially.
Yeah, I mean, they're you know, no celebrities were harmed, kind of thing. And I mean, I thought it was a fairly decent film. One noteworthy thing about the film is that it's the directorial debut of Aaron Sorkin, you know, known as a writer, but this was his directorial debut. So it was kind of a big deal because of that. Overall, I like the film. I know some people take issue because they may feel it makes her, Molly Bloom, look more sympathetic. I don't know about that. I mean, can argue one way or the other, but you know, she's just trying to, you know, it goes into her backstory of why she's doing and why she's trying to be this way.
I understand the arguments, to be honest. I understand the argument why it looks like she's more sympathetic after watching the movie, because these scenes that she, if I remember the scenes that she has with Kevin Costner, her father, kind of are trying to be a bit emotional, and actually that she knows that she's doing something stupid. It feels like she's doing that because her career was fucked, literally. So maybe I understand the argument anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an all right film. I mean, there are certain things, and I felt it could have been shorter. The movie's about maybe close to 2.5 hours long, maybe a little bit less than that. And there's like a certain point where you think, okay, this is it, and then it'll go on for like a bit. I think the whole thing with her seeming more sympathetic is because it's based on her book. So it's not like it's going to really put her
anybody else's book.
Yeah, so it's from a book by Molly Bloom herself.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was an all right film, and I guess the whole thing with Aaron Sorkin being his directorial debut, I thought that made it, you know, worth a look. So, as a little side note, and you mentioned Kevin Costner, I think there's probably a whole subcategory of sports movies with Kevin Costner, because they did a whole bunch of baseball movies. Yes. He did a movie where he's a track coach, McFarland USA. He did a movie about golf, Tin Cup. He did a movie about gridiron football, about the NFL draft called Draft Day. And there's probably others I'm missing. I don't know, but he played a bicyclist in the movie American Flyers. So I think that's like a whole subcategory is this sports movies with Kevin Costner. So I guess Molly's Game could maybe fit in that category as well. So, but yeah, I think definitely Murder Ball is worth a look, even though it is from 2005 documentary. I really liked it. And Offside.
Where is this documentary? On which platform is this documentary about Murder Ball?
Murder Ball?
Yeah.
That's see, there's an app called Just Watch. Yeah, special Netflix, right? Thank you, Cody. But all that aside, there's an app called Just Watch, and you get that, and it'll tell you, you can pick any number of countries, whether the UK, US, France, Canada, any number of countries, and it can tell you which platforms to view films or even television programs. So I just go there and figure it out. I mean, I hope it's worth, hope you're able to watch it. I will say this, that the coach in the movie for Canada, a little bit of a real life spoiler, he goes on to, after the film, coach the British team for a bit. So, and I think he coached the German wheelchair rugby team. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay. I think it's great. It's great actually that they documentary about Paralympics, especially because it's a bit. It's a shame actually that every time there is Olympic Games, people think actually that they last only a couple of weeks and that's it. And people seem to forget because TV don't just broadcast it, but it keeps going on for 2 more weeks actually.
Yeah, and they take it very, very seriously. I mean, you watch these Paralympians, you only get a glimpse of the other athletes. You just, because the movie focuses on wheelchair rugby. Yeah. But they take it like really seriously. I mean, they're really intense about this. And just focusing on the wheelchair rugby team and its matches, they don't play around. I mean, they play the sport, but they don't, they're not messing around. They take it really seriously. Like everything's on the line.
It's extremely impressive. Once, when I was a teenager, I went to see Roland Garros in Paris because I'm a fan of tennis, and I was playing tennis, so I got a free ticket anyway. So I the same day there was a game between, like, I think it was a semi-final of the man table, whatever, and then before there was actually tennis in wheelchair semi-final, and it was extremely impressive. Honestly, I was so impressed. But what we were able to do actually in a wheelchair, because I played tennis myself, and I'm pretty sure actually that if I play against these guys, I will not last 2 minutes.
Really?
Because they're so fast, etc. It's the same rules, and they don't change the rules just for these guys.
Right.
It's the same rules. So they have actually to provide twice or 10 times more energy that actually the guys from the single ATP or WTA. So no, it's very impressive. Very impressive.
And at the same time, this movie also shows that these people are human like anyone else. They have faults, they curse, they have these lives, and they make mistakes. They're not like infallible. So they're not like, oh, you're in a wheelchair. No, I mean, they're just regular people. They just happen to be in wheelchairs. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So hopefully you find it on some platform there. Keep fingers crossed. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to pass the mic, Andrew, or you have something else?
Pass the mic. Let's see. Well, I guess because we mentioned special Netflix, maybe I'll pick Cody. Sorry, Cody. Is he there?
So when I started this last week, I had about 30 movies that were all sports based, and over the last week, I've whittled them down to 3.
Okay.
All 3 are based on true events. They're all sports movies. The first one is called Soul Surfer. I do not remember the bird's name, but she is like real. She got her fucking arm bitten off by a shark.
It's like Bethany Hamilton, I think is her name. I'm not sure.
I don't know. She got her arm bitten off by a shark, and then went back to surfing. And it wasn't a brilliant movie, but the story's amazing. Number 2 is it's called Escape to Victory. I think the Americans just called it Victory, but it's actually called Escape to Victory.
Great
It's
film.
got Stallone in here. I think it's got Kane in here. It's got like everyone that's not dead yet. And about a football game where the Germans challenged the Americans to a football game. And if they lose, they're dead. Literally, like the true story. I don't know if they actually said that in the movie, but in the real aspect, they were like facing the firing squad. And they kicked ass. It's a classic. It's like, I don't know, black and white or something, but it's a really good movie. And the last one, I'm just going to refresh my brain because I'm just finished work. It is called 127 Days. And it's about an extreme sports dick. I'm only going to refer him to as that because that's what I think he is. But he is extreme. And he got, you know, the movie where he got his arm trapped in a rock and he had to cut it off and bite off himself. Say what?
It's 127 hours.
Yeah, whatever it is. What did I say? Days? Yeah, he'd be
Maybe the
dead.
sequel, maybe.
Okay, let's bring that down from days, weeks to days. So 127 hours or days or whatever.
Yeah,
and
hours.
it really, really like traumatic movie. Like give me like shivers for about 3 days. And the guy's real. He lost his arm and survived and went back to being like a surfer and a horse rider and an extreme bikeist. And oh god, the end clip of the movie is just him doing all this random stuff that you just wouldn't do if you weren't out your nut. And all 3 really good, all 3 based on reality and all different sports. That's my picks.
How do you find the most important scene, I would say, in 127 hours? What are your thoughts? Did you throw up? Because I wanted to throw up.
The ending
Not the ending
of the real guy with his one arm. Yeah, in the whole movie, that was the best bit.
Okay.
Seeing the real guy and the half a dozen clips at the end with his one arm doing all this extreme stuff alive, and like he did like a monologue where he just basically says that he doesn't have any fear anymore and he loves life and he just very inspiring, very inspiring.
Do you still think he's a dick though, Cody?
I think anyone
really annoying.
I think anyone that's going to jump out of planes or jump off of stuff with elastic bands wrapped around their feet or jump up and down half messed up pipes with any of that crap, I think you're all dumb. Like you can break stuff and hurt yourself. Like anyone that would mentally do that on purpose, knowing that they could injure themselves, is stupid. But I like the movie.
It's interesting, Cody, because maybe it's a controversial comment that I'm gonna make, but when I watched a movie called Everest a few years ago, with a lot of big names in it, Josh Brolin,
good movie.
Emily Watson, I believe. Anyway, so, but yeah, good movie. But I have the same feeling at the end because I didn't feel sorry for the people who died. It's awful. I know it's controversial, but I didn't feel sorry for them.
No, you don't. No one put a gun to their head and forced them up a goddamn mountain, right? Nobody told them to go up a mountain, so screw them.
Exactly. They paid $50,000 to be on the mountain when they knew they would actually risk their lives, and every single hour of when they were actually climbing, they made a mistake, and they genuinely knew. I mean, they knew actually that it was a mistake. They knew actually that they were risking their lives. They knew actually that, for example, they had like a time limit actually. But at what point, if they didn't reach the top, they have to go back because it will be like a suicide actually to stay on the top at that point. But they don't give a shit. They keep going, they keep going, keep going. So obviously something shitty will happen. So how can you feel sorry for people actually who put themselves in such a situation, you know? But anyway, but I said it's controversial because obviously 10 people died in this story. But anyway. Sorry, go ahead, Cody.
However many died, that many less idiots on the planet. That's all I can say.
Wow.
I'm like, I suppose I'm biased. I only have one fear. As far as I know, I don't have the part of the brain that deals with fear, but it's like a physical reaction. I don't know shit. My body just collapses. I'm really scared of heights. Always have been. So
Same here,
I think that
Cody.
gives you a biased opinion. Like, I don't do roller coasters. I wouldn't even get on a teacup.
No sports movie about you then, Cody? Coming up.
God, no.
No.
Yeah, if there's a sport about some genius sitting in an office surrounded by military, that would be me.
Sounds amazing. Documentary. Right, Cody. Good recommendations. Good real life stories. James Franco is in obviously 127 Hours, and I think it was definitely. But the scenes at the end of the real guy behind it, so life affirming. They just get back on the horse and just go straight for it. I mean, they don't know anything like huge traumatic event like what happened to them. Affect them. Right. So Cody, who would you like to pass the mic to?
Let's have a girl. How about Anita?
Yeah, Anita. Hello, Anita.
Yeah, hi. So I posted a few comments on the Meetup website. I rewatched 3. One of them, I think you discussed at a meeting that I couldn't make, which was, and I watched it again last night, Bjork versus McEnroe. Brilliant. Yeah,
wonderful movie, right?
I saw it at the cinema. It must have been, I suppose, about 3 years ago. Absolutely brilliant. Loved it. Really good casting, actually. It was quite uncanny with Bjork. And I was actually about 8 years old when that match happened. And I remember at 8 years old, I was not that interested. I just wanted my mum and my brother to switch the channel to ITV so I could watch Ian Ogilvy and the Saint. And so that's what I remember about that match, being really frustrated. So it was nice to go back and actually really feel involved with it because I wasn't at 8 years old. Brilliant film, loved it. And then I got into tennis later. Probably more Boris Becker and Stefan Edberg and all of those. Absolutely brilliant, loved it. I would probably give it 9.5 out of 10.
I agree.
Because I think it was you, Richard, wasn't it, that mentioned it?
I loved it as well. Yeah, and Shia LaBeouf, who a very strange career, let's say, he's amazing in this movie as John McEnroe. So yeah.
And I mentioned Battle of the Sexes, another tennis one. Again, we would all have been fairly young at that point, 1973. I had no idea that, and obviously I knew who Billie Jean King was, but I had no idea about that match and about, he is a bit of a twat. I mean, he is being a chauvinist pig, but he's really playing up to it and whatever in the film anyway. And I think they both really put themselves on the line. Quite a brave thing to do. And and it was great to see. I think there were some men that were a lot more chauvinist in it than him. And it was great to just see the outcome, which I've now given away, which I said I wouldn't in my Meetup comments anyway. Again, brilliant film. I think I'd give that 9. And again, another thing that I didn't know that much about, Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. I actually didn't know the outcome of that. I remember seeing it on the news and I thought Tonya Harding actually always was in on it. And when I saw this film, I thought, oh my God, I feel really sorry for you.
You're talking about I, Tonya, right?
Yeah, Tonya, sorry. Yeah. And I thought, at one point, I mean, the amount of, it's been described as sort of like social comedy or satirical comedy or something. I thought it was most of it was actually a social satire. It was about domestic violence, about dysfunctional families, about single parents, about, I think it was incredible, particularly the first half. It really focused on that. I have to say, however much of that is true, particularly things like her mother flinging a knife at her and having it land in her arm, if all these things are true, I actually felt really sorry for her. And I actually loved a comment she made, which we're not supposed to love, when she says, oh, well, Nancy got hit once and the whole world goes mad. I get hit all the time, by my husband, by my mother. And it actually just sort of made me laugh. And I thought, yeah, actually, good for you. tell it how it is, you know. Anyway, I thoroughly, however biased
Good film,
or
yeah.
true or I thought it was a brilliant film, and I really
It's a
loved
good
it, and
movie.
I'd give it 8.5, I think.
And the mother, Alice Angelique, got an Oscar for this movie.
Sorry.
The mother, Margot Robbie,
Oh, did she?
got an
Okay.
Oscar for it. Yeah.
Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Because I joined late, I don't know who else wants to speak. So leave it
Okay.
open.
Well, we could have James. James hasn't spoken yet. Well, thanks for the recommendations. I Tonya is a great. Yeah, I've seen that. It's almost like a domestic comedy. A great.
Yes.
Is that I, Tonya?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
Tonya.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's almost, I mean, it's like a crime thriller, isn't it? I think I saw it on a screen unseen. I didn't know too much about it. I think I knew that Margot Robbie was doing that film, but my sports knowledge is not great, so I didn't even really realize it was a true story until the end with the real life footage. But I watched it again in lockdown last year, and I'd mentioned it somewhere, and someone had said that they like really hated the film.
Really?
But I think that's the thing, that your expectations of maybe what that film's going to be. If you don't know the real story, you might think it's quite a light story. And the stuff with the mother was the thing that I was thinking about, actually, because watching it in the cinema, she's got a razor tongue. What she's saying is very funny, but it's also like she's got this young daughter and she's kind of abusing her, really, you know. And I think the moment when she throws that knife is the moment when you need that to be in there, because otherwise you are just laughing. You're sort of laughing with the mother, and at that moment you kind of go, right, this is not a healthy relationship. So you completely I think you feel a lot of sympathy for it. It's a great performance, but as it spirals out of control and the complete just ridiculousness of the henchmen, if we want to call them that, in that film is very funny. And that, you know, I mean, it's weird to say that it's very funny because it's a true life crime, isn't it? But that they're just morons, basically. I haven't seen it for about a year, but if it's on iPlayer, I'd definitely like to watch that again because I've seen it a couple of times. I really like it. I've watched, actually, I will say I haven't watched First Match, Mark, but I probably will seek that out because it sounds quite interesting. You made me think about Fighting with My Family, which come out about a year ago. Now, I'm aware that now I've bigged up two Dwayne Johnson chats in as many two Dwayne Johnson films in as many film chats. So if I do it a third time in a row, I'm probably kicked out of this group by default. But it's
fine. To the end of the keep on going. No worry.
Yeah, but it is a really good film, and to, without giving it, I mean, he's not really the main character in that film. He's got a cameo role as himself, which is quite pivotal. But it's about a wrestler called Paige. It's very funny. Stephen Merchant, I think, wrote the script. He must have written the script and directs it. I think it's a really well-structured film. He's a really good storyteller. But the thing that struck me actually most about it is it's not just about Paige trying to make it in WWE. It's about her brother failing to make it.
Yes.
And the fact that you've got that dual thing going on is really... I was thinking, I mean, I think that's come out in some of Stephen Merchant's other works, maybe some of his sitcom work, but it really sort of pulls you in. The scene I always think about is there's a confrontation between Paige and her brother, if you want to call it a confrontation, in the evening. And it's quite a sort of affecting scene. So that's really good and it's worth watching. It's very funny. I've watched, there was a few things I wanted to watch this week. I really wanted to watch Southpaw, actually, Richard, again, because I think that's a really good film. Jake Gyllenhaal, I think I put in the chat that I saw him in that and Nightcrawler in the same week and couldn't get over the fact that I was watching the same actor because he's beefed up for Southpaw. He's really sort of weedy and creepy in Nightcrawler. Like physically, he looks like a completely different guy. But that is a really good film. I think Eminem was in the running to. They tried to get him to be in that film, and he turned it down because he didn't want to do it. And he did. Yeah. He created the soundtrack, didn't he? And I think
he was got a really good the main role, but actually, apparently, but well, it's not official, but apparently, they tried to do some scenes with him on set, but it was the same moment actually that he went to rehab because of his drugs addiction.
Really?
And during the promotion of the movie, in interviews with Jake Gyllenhaal and Eminem, you can see that he cannot hide the fact that his face actually changes when he talks because of the drug addiction. It's awful. Like they couldn't have him in the movie. Anyway, sorry. James.
But he did no, that's fine. He curated the hip hop soundtrack that goes with it, which has got like a really good list of A-list sort of hip hop stars in it. But it's also I think it's the last film that James Horner scored as well. Interesting. But yeah, I think I did that. But I grew up. You alluded to it, Richard, not really interested in the Rocky films, but I think that's because the first one I ever watched was Rocky V, so I just wasn't interested. And then obviously Rocky Balboa come out, and I was like, well, this is ridiculous because he's too old.
If you start with Rocky V, I understand, but you think that they're shit movies. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And it was a period as well where Stallone was not at his best. I think he was doing that come out and then Stop or My Mum Will Shoot, and I just wasn't interested. Then he had a bit of a renaissance where sort of coming back with Cliffhanger and Demolition Man and stuff. But when I watched Creed, I was really blown away with it. I thought it was amazing. And then I went back and watched the first 4 Rocky films. They're quite good. And then Creed 2 as well, I thought was...
Creed 2 is even better.
Yeah, and I will say Creed 2 just reduced me to tears, the final, or like the penultimate scene in that. I thought it was really, really good. And I think they're doing a third one, but without Stallone, aren't they? So I look forward to seeing that. One of the only film I got around to rewatching this week was a documentary called Steve McQueen, The Man in Le Mans. Now, I went to Le Mans in 2004 with my dad for my brother for his birthday, for my dad's birthday, and we got a DVD of the film Le Mans from 1971 that I'd never ever heard of. This is the original 1971 film. And it's not, I think now it's thought of better than when it come out. But the documentary, we were talking about like Apocalypse Now the other week and the fact that was a nightmare to make. Le Mans was basically at the peak of Steve McQueen's career. And the studio said, what film do you want to do? And he said, I want to make a film where I'm a racing driver doing Le Mans. And they sent him there. And apparently the rumor is that 1 million feet worth of film was shot. It went like 1.5 million over budget. They filmed for 3 months longer than they were intended to. And it got to a point, the director walked off the film. Steve McQueen almost walked off the film. And they were just shooting very good footage of the race. And after the race, they were sort of staging this footage. But they just didn't have a script. They didn't have a story. And I think they thought, oh, the script will come to us eventually. It will just magically appear and we'll have a story. And they had to do that. But Steve McQueen was having problems in his personal life at the time. His marriage was falling apart. But it's probably an example of a documentary about the film that's better than the film. I think over the years, the film has got a bit of a cult following, mainly amongst racing fans. So there was a film called Grand Prix come out just before it with James Garner, which had a very good story, or a better story to it. But I think all the racing footage was sort of green screened and stuff, and it didn't look very convincing. This looks quite authentic. But yeah, if you can find that, it's definitely worth.
Question, James. But is the story about Le Mans? I never heard of that movie, to be honest. Is the story kind of the same story as the movie with Matt Damon and Christian Bale? You know,
no. So that's a true story called. So that film is Le Mans '66 over here. I think in America it's titled Ford versus Ferrari. Yeah, that's a good film. That's a really good film.
That is a good film. Yeah.
Really good.
But that is specifically about the '66 race. So the film with McQueen is a fictionalized version. It was filmed at the 1970 Le Mans and afterwards, but it's a fictional race about Steve McQueen. Interestingly, in the documentary, they said he actually wanted, presumably just as a petrol head, wanted to drive legitimately the 24-hour race, and the insurance company were just like, no, we're not going to have like a massive Hollywood star driving this race, because if he dies, that's, we haven't got a film. Sadly, he died in 1980. I didn't realise of lung cancer, and they sort of said that they found asbestos poisoning, which obviously that used to be in like racing suits and stuff.
Really?
That's what my stepdad's just he's just finished like his chemo and shit, but he just got that the asbestos poisoning. He was a welder and stuff, like ripping out roofs and stuff.
Yeah,
he got the same poisoning.
Builders and stuff as well. Isn't it?
He's just got over the cancer. He just went through all the crap to get rid of the cancer, and now he's got Alzheimer's, lost all his shit, like literally gone.
Oh dear.
Really sad. Really
Sorry to
sad.
hear that.
Yeah, really sad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that stuff comes back in like 20, 30, 40 years later, doesn't it? That's dangerous stuff.
Crazy, yeah, it's crazy.
Mm.
But it's definitely worth if you can find that documentary. So I was trying to find it on DVD years ago, and then because I couldn't, I actually it's in like my Amazon library, so I sort of rewatched it. But yeah, it's really interesting. But that's pretty much it. I noticed When We Were Kings, the Muhammad Ali documentary is on iPlayer. If people haven't seen that, Beyond the Mat, the WWE documentary is on Netflix. 127 hours we alluded to, but I didn't know if the guy in real life is really annoying or the performance was really annoying, but I just found it very difficult to.
Really? In his own interviews,
it's a problem if he's the only actor on screen for the majority.
In his own interviews, he said he was childish and just like didn't have any discipline whatsoever, and he wouldn't have employed him to do any job. So that was his reply about his own self, and now he's like dedicated and a dad and everything, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it is a Danny Boyle movie, and I should go back and revisit it because I'm sure I'd see something in it. Richard, actually, last thing before I stop, did you say at some point there's a phrase about only a moron changes his mind?
Yeah, I don't know if it exists in English, but yeah, in French is seuls les imbéciles ne changent pas d'avis, literally, and literally it means only morons never change their mind. Yeah.
Oh, only morons never change their mind.
Yeah, if you change your mind about a subject in your life, it proves actually that you are self-conscious and actually that you are a smart guy. Yeah, but that's how we.
Yeah, we need to get that message out more, like on Twitter and stuff. Changing your mind is right. But
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
same. It's really good to watch a film and sort of see it, because there's certain films over the years that I've kind of said I hate, and then I find nobody else hates them. And 127 hours, maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind when I watched it. So I would like to revisit again, because it's quite a bold thing to do, to make a film about it. It almost sounds like an event that you couldn't make a film about. So to have done that is quite cool. So I might try.
I think with the movie, it's really important to be a wide awake and pay a lot of attention to the last 2 minutes of the movie, because the whole movie is basically you're like, you dick, oh my god, you dick, the whole way. That's probably why you don't remember it, because you're just like, this guy's a dumb. But then when you watch the inspirational bit at the end and you see the guy and what he dedicated his body and his mind to, that I swear to God, that tiny little clip at the end makes the whole movie. You're like, you go back and you think about the parts of the movie that you've seen that are gruesome and terrifying. You're like, well, hang on a minute, this is a real guy. Like when you see him with the one arm, it comes back as reality, not just a movie. And that little bit at the end, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thanks, James. That is seen quite a lot. Yeah. Right. So who hasn't spoken yet? We've got Alfonso and Elizabeth. You got any? Did you watch any sporting movies this week, or have any favorites?
Well, I have favorites. I didn't watch anything, I'm afraid.
Sure.
I love Rush. I wrote this in the column. I didn't think I was going to like it when I went. I thought, oh God, racing cars. It's not a thing that I thought I was interested in, but it was played so beautifully by Chris Hemsworth and the German guy, what's his name?
Daniel Brühl.
Thank you. Yes. They were both so good. And I was fascinated. I've seen it twice, I think.
Yeah,
seen it on TV as well. And also Senna, who said Senna? Somebody said Senna.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
I mentioned Senna.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. There again, I thought, but because I like Rush, I I mean, it could have been a very bad film, and I'm sure the film with Steve McQueen is. I probably wouldn't like it. I don't know. Sounds a bit boring. Sorry. And
the actual film itself is not a good film, but the documentary is, I think, is quite worth saying. But I think I didn't mention actually, because you spoke at length about Senna, Richard, but like I'm not particularly interested in motor racing, but that to me is a great documentary that can take a subject you're not interested in and make you interested in it. And it's brilliant. They did the Amy documentary as well, which I think is a really amazing documentary.
Yeah. Amy Winehouse.
Yeah. Yes. I think that film is interesting as a comment on like media and celebrity. You don't have to be a fan of hers or anything to watch that documentary.
The same director did Senna, Amy Winehouse, but he also did recently Maradona.
Yes.
A documentary about Maradona.
What's his name again?
I think Asif Kapadia, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Kapadia. I'm not sure about his first name, but Kapadia is last name, yeah, for sure.
Thank you. And that's
anything
it.
Else? No? Jason, if you hear, Jason?
You mentioned Maradona there. That was pretty good. I've seen that documentary, actually. It is a really good, just showing actually the beginnings of where he came from. It's such a poor beginnings, and then he has this almost like rock star lifestyle of, I mean, he becomes, it's more than a superstar or film star. It becomes, a national hero for Argentina. Yeah, well, yeah. And then it is, then it gets mixed up, with the whole drugs and the women and everything like that. But that is just a fascinating story in itself, whatever field you're working in. But the pressure on him, but he was so young, and he came from, he's got quite a big family who's supporting them and everything like that. It is a fascinating story. So that director really does know certainly these people behind the achievements, the pressures, and how when the fame comes, that's something they're not even used to handling. But Maradona's one, it's stellar. It was absolutely international stellar focus on him and the people that he was mixed with. It's it's definitely worth a look. Right. I think Alfonso, if he's there, I don't know if Alfonso, if you've seen it.
Hi.
Hello, Alfonso.
Hello. Hi, Alfonso.
Any sporting movies that you might have seen or recommended, classic ones that you think you should mention?
I don't know. I mean, I like sports movies either when they are dumb comedies or like Kingpin is a good bowling movie that can be considered sport from the Farrelly brothers.
Which one?
Kingpin is the second movie from the Farrelly brothers. It has Bill Murray. It has what's the name of the guy?
It's Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, sorry. Yeah.
And Randy Quaid, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good Farrelly's movie. It's has a lot of laughs. If you haven't seen it. as a comedy, just as a comedy. So if you like Farrelly's brothers' humor, Kingpin, about bowling.
Kingpin, yeah, I think Mark just mentioned that. Yeah, has that got Bill Murray in it? No.
Yeah.
That's a very funny comedy and a good sporting background to it. Bill Murray's just good.
Yeah, and I don't know, either that or they show more of the characters' life than just the competition, like what you were saying with Itonia, Battle of the Sexes, maybe Cinderella Man, or The Legend of Bagger Vance, which is not very liked by some people, but I liked it, as Matt Damon and Will Smith and Charlize Theron. So, nice. And I don't know. What else? I was thinking, what other movies I put that are not very well known?
What about Dodgeball? Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Dodgeball.
I can just about put that one in there.
Yeah. Those kind of movies are fun.
Yeah, that's quite fun.
Does it count as sports?
Yeah.
It's a real game, I think.
Seriously?
I've been playing in schools. I don't know if it's an
Yeah,
Olympic
dodgeball is a
event.
real sport, but it's not like it is in the movie. Exactly.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Exaggerated.
Like
so.
Harry Potter movies because they have Quidditch.
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe, yeah. Might not make the Tokyo Olympics, but who knows?
Some people were saying if chess was a sport. The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit.
Oh, yes.
Wow, we're just doing puns now. What's that? Will Mark's mentioned Will Ferrell one, the racing. Oh, that's
Yeah, Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah, from the title, you know that they are serious about it.
And he did the ice skating one as well. What was that?
Blades of Glory.
Blades of Glory. Okay.
Yeah, it was Will Ferrell and John Heder. Yeah.
Yeah. Who has a twin brother. They are exactly, twins, of course.
I suppose we could then go back to, as we go around the room, to those classic ones that I know Mark's mentioned. Definitely, was the Rocky series. That's kind of like one of the early ones, but that did actually win 3 Oscars back in the day. Now, James,
the first one.
Yeah, the first one.
First
James,
one.
you must. I would say that was probably one of the best ones out of, and became a series of the same story. But it's a good, nice, kind of gritty. A lot of gritty films coming out in the 70s in that time, and then a sports one which kind of penned by him and acted by him. I think it got him Best Picture that year. But then it went for the 80s. We got Rocky 2 and Rocky 3 with Mr. T, which is a highlight or low light. And then he solved the Cold War.
US attack. Exactly.
In the 4th one.
Yeah.
The most amazing montage ever committed to film.
Jason, what's the one with Dolph Lundgren?
Yeah,
but that's the 4th one. Rocky.
Was that
Rocky
4?
That's number 4.
I liked the fight at the end, and I think it was something like one of my favourite lines. I'm not big on the Rocky films, but one of my favourite lines is he threw Rocky across the ring like a rag doll, and I was like, I like that.
Or another line, he's not human. I think that was a bit of Dolph Lundgren acting there. But apparently, I think there was a bit of a story. He when they were doing that fight, Stallone said, "Look, just go for it. Just really go for it." Now, Dolph Lundgren is huge Swede. I mean, really huge, powerful, built guy. And he said, "Are you sure?" I mean, really? He said, "Yeah, just go for it. I'll be fine." He punched him, and then apparently I had to go to hospital afterwards. Really? He cracked something. So he felt terrible afterwards. But these are, he really puts it to. I mean, he put a lot of credit to Stallone in writing, penning, directing that whole one of the big franchises of the 80s. Quite honestly, that I remember. Yeah. So but any other big kind of like big ones? Oh, I want to mention another one actually. Has anyone seen Rollerball with James Caan?
I was thinking that because I saw it years ago. It's quite violent, isn't it? It's quite dystopian, and it must be 70s. It must be the 19.
I think 76.
And I was thinking about that and thinking if I'd have had time, I would have rewatched that. But yeah, can you just very quickly then say what you thought, Jason? Because I watched it so long ago, but it was quite freaky. It was.
It is kind of set in a semi. I wouldn't say future, but basically you can almost put it present day, where it become a very violent kind of like, I would say between hockey and not rugby, but anyway, kind of like a national game where they're all padded up and they have to basically put one ball from one end to the other, but by any means necessary. And then, but it also looks at how when you got the media involved and the money involved, and how to get a superstar, you get to a point where it's greed and money way behind these big international games. But it is a violent, almost satire on the game of what is a bloodthirst sport of what what an audience is willing to pay for. And it's science fiction. It's 1975, 76. James Caan always choosy about his act. I mean, he's a good actor, and he's choosy, I think, about what he does. So, I liked it. It wasn't really just talking. It was talking about. I think a lot of these films of the 70s are about, against the system, the corruption of the system, and don't trust the big system. And it's one of those in its spirit and its heart. I liked it, actually. It is a more a kind of like a social commentary from what I see. I think they made a remake of it. I haven't seen it, but I think the fact it disappeared.
I think there is a remake. No, I think that there has been a remake with Jean Reno.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, like 15 or 20 years ago.
I couldn't bear to watch it, quite honest. Yeah. All right, but anyone else? Would you? Nietzsche, yeah, I liked it. I actually did. It's nice, darker, kind of like grit. Yeah, it's a dark look at sports, basically. What about some of the classics that we are missing? I just thought I might just give a mention, like what about League of Their Own? Anyone seen that? No.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean it's okay. It's yeah, I mean it's entertaining. I mean it's one of those things where I'd be more curious to see the real story, and they do have exhibits on it at the Baseball Hall of Fame in New York State. But I mean it's entertaining for what it is and introduces people to the topic. So
yeah, it's got a lot of big stars in that as well. Anyone else?
Like
yeah, sure. Any other big ones that maybe kind of like throughout the years?
It's not a big film, but last year after Chadwick Boseman died, sort of like seeking out stuff in his back catalogue, and there's a film called 42 about American baseball, and I think maybe it's retitled over here 42, the true story of an American legend. Please watch this movie, even though you're in the UK, sort of thing, to try and get people on board. And I think maybe that's a problem with some of those films, that they're about, if it's about sort of an American baseball player, they're kind of thinking, oh, internationally, is this gonna sell, but it's him and Harrison Ford, and it's a really, really good movie. And it was kind of depressing that I hadn't heard of it before, really. It felt like it was sort of like a sort of Oscar bait film, if you know what I mean, but it just completely passed me by. Maybe other people were aware of it, but I certainly wasn't aware.
I think that introduced people to Chadwick Boseman, and when it came
up,
it
must be one of his first films. I think it's like as a leading sort of star. I think he's billed equal top with Harrison Ford, but it must be 2012-ish, 2013 maybe.
Yeah, I think it was that movie that got him the role of Black Panther, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
Mark also said Raging Bull, which of course.
Yeah, can't.
And I also like another boxing movie with Paul Newman. I think it's from 50 something. And I used to watch it as a child. I don't know the name in English.
Which one again?
It's a boxing movie with Paul Newman. He was really young. It must be one of his first films from the 50s.
Right.
Remember the Titans?
No, Remember the Titans. It's not a boxing film.
It's a true movie about the football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about football. I used to work as a teacher in a very posh private school in Madrid for a few months, and my 12, 13-year-old students, that was one of the movies that they watched whenever they didn't have anything else to do, and they absolutely loved Remember the Titans.
It wasn't the boxing movie that he did based on a real guy, the guy that spent like 40 years in prison and became like a like a champion boxer.
Eureka Carter.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did the movie, didn't he? And that was also based on a real guy, boxer.
Yes. Amazing movie.
Yeah. Heart-wrenching.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Difficult not to cry to this one. Yeah, true. Yeah.
And I think Martin mentioned one, Color of Money. I think that's 1980.
Yeah, brilliant movie.
Paul Newman and Tom Cruise, one of his early
it was actually to The Hustler.
Oh yeah, it's a sequel to The Hustler. Yeah, that's the original.
From like 5 years earlier.
Yeah. That's right. That's the world of Paul playing and hustling, obviously. But good movie. And Tom Cruise has done quite a few films in the sporting field of his career. Days of Thunder. It reminds me of Talladega Nights almost, you know. Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
I don't know, not much to say about them.
But it's funny. Actually, it's funny because to follow up on what James was saying earlier, as a French guy, let's say, there are some sports in the US that I don't know nothing about. And there are some movies that kind of introduced me to these sports. Not that I like the sports anyway, but these sports, but still I like the movies. Okay, maybe not clear, but for example, Any Given Sunday by Oliver Stone, a movie about American football. I will not call football, I call it American football. with Al Pacino. I loved it. I watched, I think, 3 times, and I still don't understand the rules probably of American football. I kind of don't like American football, but the movie itself, since it's more about kind of the behind the scenes, I really enjoyed it. And similar story for Moneyball with Brad Pitt. I think baseball is boring, but seeing all things behind the scenes again of how actually can be applied to any sports, I find it was fascinating. But to see how such a small team actually can, and it's true story apparently, such a small team actually can just change actually everything, and with new ideas can rise. Actually, I find it was fascinating.
Yeah,
Al
I think
Pacino in that, hasn't it? Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday.
yes, he is. He's him and Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, and the Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, good movie.
There is a French movie about guys doing swimming, right?
Recently,
I've
yes.
seen this movie, Alfonso. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but yes, it's true.
In Spain, we had a movie that won the Goya, which was very popular, called Campeones, like champions in Spanish. But it's about a Spanish sports team in basketball with people who are mentally handicapped.
Okay.
So with real mentally handicapped actors of different kinds. And it's a comedy, and it's a sweet-natured comedy. It's nice.
Interesting. Campeón.
All right. There is one, I won't mention, an Indian movie who are big cricket fans. It's called 2001, called Lagan, which I think is, I'm not sure if it's true or not. It might be a true story. It was about a cricket match held between an Indian village and days of the British Raj, I think, between them. I think they were held forfeit they couldn't pay their taxes, so they decided whoever won the game of cricket, they would pay or not pay their taxes or double it. So that makes 2001. So I think that was a big hit in Bollywood actually. So, but more of it's quite a sober story. So I mentioned that one. Right. Anyone else? Anyone seen?
Sorry, I was sorry, Jason. I was a bit late joining, and I just wondered if anyone had any good sort of football films to recommend. I mean, there must have been ones about Pele and Maradona, and I don't know if you've discussed those.
There's one about Maradona, isn't there?
Yeah, the one we mentioned. Yeah.
There's also the Dan United, which has Michael Sheen as. I don't know if
yes.
I haven't watched it, but I like Michael Sheen as an actor. I think he's very
great,
interesting as an actor.
I haven't watched that either, but I want to. Write it down.
There was a documentary about Paul
I think it's
Gascoigne
also
as well.
the screenwriter is the one from The Queen. There are many good documentaries on
Oh
sport.
Yes, I know.
You were saying, you were asking, you were talking about the one with people in wheelchairs, maybe?
Yes.
Before?
Yeah, Andrew mentioned.
Yeah, I have seen that one. Yeah. There's recently one about trans athletes.
Okay.
I don't remember. I haven't watched it, but it must be interesting because it's one thing that it's now in the news about whether trans athletes should or should not play in the gender that they have transitioned
presently in.
Yeah.
But that's a good point, actually, Anita. I don't think there are many actually movies about football. Sorry.
There's a new one that actually Taika Waititi is doing with Michael Fassbender and Elizabeth Moss, which is Next Goal Wins, and it's gonna come out soon. But Taika Waititi is the one that made and For the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows or Three.
Cody, did you mention right at the beginning, Anita, with Pele? I think even Jess Hurst is in there, along with Stallone and Michael Caine. Escape to Victory. You must have seen that.
I haven't, no.
Oh, because when you said that, I thought there's that perfect movie, but she must have seen it. So Cody mentioned it. Yeah, Escape to Victory. You've actually got Pele in there, Jeff Hurst, footballers and actors. I did see a bit of a behind the scenes documentary on it. Was like Michael Caine talking, well, here we've got these actors, here we've got these footballers, and we can meet in the middle, teach us a bit about football. We'll give you some hints about acting, and behind the scenes, it's quite a. I don't think you've ever had a game or film where you've got these big international superstars of the day actually in a. But it is set during World War II, and it is kind of like under the backdrop of a football game between England and the Germans, or Americans, English, and Germans. But I think you'd like it. You'd like it. It's a classic one.
You also have Bandit Like Beckham, which was the movie with that
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you.
What? Somebody else said it or what?
No. We absolutely missed that one. we missed the goal on that one. We never. Alfonso, what did you think of it then? What did you?
It was also a sweet movie. I watched it like 100 years ago. It's Gurinder Chandra, the director, I think.
That's right.
Yes, that's right.
Keira Knightley.
It was her first film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Unless she's a child actor, I don't know.
Sorry, are you talking about Bend It Like Beckham?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't mind that actually.
It was sweet, wasn't it?
Entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Okay.
Has anyone seen Fever Pitch? I haven't, but I'd like to.
I'd forgotten about that years ago. That's Colin Firth, isn't it?
Colin Firth, yes.
Yeah.
Mark Strong as well.
Oh, is that Mark Strong in it? Oh, yeah.
Faces Mate. It's more like, because it's a Nick Hornby book it's based on.
Yes.
It's definitely more of a rom-com with football in the background.
Oh, I think I'd like that.
It's really good.
So
actually.
I'll be watching the match later. Is everybody else watching it?
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Yeah, and I support Ukraine.
You also have
that?
Shaolin Soccer.
Alfonso, was it?
No, that was Richard. I'll give you his address later.
He was saying that we also have Shaolin Soccer.
Shaolin
Soccer.
Yeah,
Shaolin Soccer. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm not sure sport necessarily lends itself well to rom-coms, and there was one that I absolutely hated, and someone did bring it up on the website, and I think it might have been Hugo, who isn't here, but Wimbledon 2004.
Yes.
I love Paul Bettany, but it was awful.
Yeah,
it was so
yeah. My God. And both actors are actually decent ones. I think it was Paul Bettany and Kirsten Dunst. So I don't know what the hell happened in this movie.
Directed that.
Woody Allen. What's the Woody Allen one? It's a different one, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, Match Point. Match Point.
Talking about. That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's not about sports, but
yeah, that's not about sports. Yeah.
That's a sports metaphors.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was about tennis, but it was a long time.
They played tennis like once in the movie, but that's all.
Yeah. But the title suggests tennis.
Maybe it's a bit like, though, we were talking last week about computer game movies, and regardless of how you adapt them, they're sort of, just to say computer game movies, it encompasses a lot of different types of film. And, if you have sports films, they can be really the rom-coms or coming-of-age movies, or because I was thinking, actually, talking about Southpaw and Eminem. There's something in those films. There's been quite a few films, the sort of battle rap film, like 8 Mile. There was one with 50 Cent called Get Rich or Die Trying, and there was one called Patty Cakes, which came out a few years ago. And they've definitely, it feels like they've almost just replaced sport in those films with rapping. And it's kind of, how does this person come from the gutter and make their name through sport or music?
Yeah,
it's the same sort of underdog.
Yeah, it is Rocky all over again.
It is Rocky, isn't it? And they're kind of taking that thing, but it works really well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, for example, The Way Back is about overcoming addiction, more or less, or the consequences of being an addict to alcohol with Ben Affleck. He coaches a basketball team.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I wasn't here.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And I was thinking about another one that it's about. There are so many movies about teams that are down on their luck, and then one of these coaches comes and see the special thing that they have with they are teenage girls or a black sportsman who haven't given them a chance.
Coach Carter.
Yeah. And
White Men Can't.
There were actually two sports movies that were shot at my Louisiana University when I was there. One is about swimming, about black swimmers. I don't even remember the name. It's with this comedian who played bobsleigh in the Charlie's Angels, and which is not even known, I think, anymore. And then there was another one with Josh Lucas, who coached a basketball team, which I think it was also with black people in the South. I don't remember, but both were filmed at my university. I think Pitch Perfect.
Bernie Mac was the one.
Mark was mentioning Cool Runnings.
Oh, the Jamaican bobsleigh team.
Yeah,
that's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
And a true one.
Yeah.
Thank you,
It was massive as well in the 90s. It's one of those films. There's quite a few comedy films in the 90s that were just huge that people kind of forget about. But that was massive at the time.
That's Eddie the Eagle one with Hugh Jackman and
really good.
Taron Egerton.
Is it just called Eddie the Eagle? Maybe I think.
I think it's called Eddie.
Eddie the Eagle. Yeah, Eddie the Eagle. Yeah, Eddie the Eagle. Yeah.
About true story.
Yeah,
Which,
I met him.
endearing.
You met
him as a kid. I met him when I was a kid. I don't obviously remember it, but I've got a picture of me as like a 5-year-old, and my dad's holding me like that. My granddad's holding me like that, and he's at like some sort of, I don't know, just an event. I can't remember what the event was right now, but yeah, I met him as a kid. I met him.
Funny. He's quite one of those underdog characters who just kept sending from the film, but
he wasn't very good, was he?
No, but he won the hearts. He just went for it.
Yes.
For the long jump. There's quite a list there, everyone. Mighty, wow. Go watch some football.
Enjoy,
or whatever. All right, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this film and TVreview.com episode. Catch the latest film and TV reviews, together with regular episode content from the world of film and TV every week. See you soon. Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.